giving Jay-Z too much credit. Y'all, there was an insane court hearing between Tony Busby and Jay-Z in California. If you guys don't know, Tony Busby and Jay-Z are going to war in California, in Alabama, in Louisiana. They are going to war everywhere but in New York. If you guys don't remember, Busby dismissed the claims with prejudice against Jay-Z, meaning he could never bring it up in New York City. Now, interesting enough, the co-counsel said they did that because there was a agreement between Jay-Z's lawyer and Tony Busby's lawyer. However, they never got it in writing. And when they did everything they were supposed to do, Jay-Z's lawyer pulled out at the last second. Maybe law's a legal game, but somebody has to play it. Now, what is one of the oddest things that came out in this? First of all, there's a lot of false rumors that the judge looked that Jay-Z got a little bit of win. It's not a win. The judge made a tentative ruling. A tentative ruling is not a real ruling. It is something that judges uses to narrow the case so that counselors can focus on what the issues are at hand. It is not final. It is not binding. And it's the judge basically saying, all right, maybe. It sounds believable. You got till tomorrow to show me new evidence, okay? I'll get into what that is in a second, but let's talk about the way Jay-Z got caught in the biggest lie in court. Now, this is my opinion. I think it's 100% a lie. Y'all, Jay-Z literally said that he misspoke in court. And get this, Rock Nation, how did he misspeak? Because first, when it came to these private investigators that Jane Doe said she was harassing her, and if you listen to the audio, it does sound like Jane Doe is being harassed. Even the dog sounds scared, barking in the background. Okay, but hear me out. So Jay-Z first said, these private investigators showed up at her house, even though Jay-Z was screaming the whole time. He had no idea who Jane Doe was, and the world needed to know who this woman was because this is against his constitutional right. And I said, okay, maybe, right? Then we found out that the private investigators showed up in Jane Doe's door. And I said, well, then why were you sitting there playing in our face, acting like you didn't know who this woman was when private investigators? Jay-Z's team came out and told the judge, yo, hold on. We don't know who those private investigators are. I didn't hire them. And I said, but if Jay-Z, if you didn't hire them, then who did? Was it Diddy? Was it Rock Nation? Because there are not random private investigators that are putting in the hours to track down a Jane Doe and give the affidavits for free. Somebody lying, somebody paying. So then Jay-Z came out and said, wait. No. The private investigators were hired by Desiree and Rock Nation. I said, Desiree and Rock Nation, isn't that your business partner? Aren't you owner in Rock Nation? So if Desiree is doing this and isn't this still on your behalf? So you basically are paying out of the same pot. So you're still doing it. Jay-Z's lawyer showed up in court in California and said, wait, Your Honor, we misspoke. It wasn't Rock Nation. I said, word? Well, then who was it? Because I'm very interested to know, right? Was it Diddy? Say it was Diddy. I think it was Diddy. Jay-Z surprised all of us. And when he did, y'all, this is the most hilarious thing you are ever going to hear. I think that we gave Jay-Z way too much credit because at least when we thought that he got Desiree from Rock Nation to hire private investigators. I said, well, at least it's plausible, right? And there's some semblance of deniability, even though it was giving very much. I'm not friends with Diddy. I'm just associates who has been partying hard with him and be calling each other family and hugging on stage for like the last 10, 15 years. Baby, at least there had some semblance of deniability, right? But it came out in court that Jay-Z said that his assistants hired the private attorneys, private investigators, right? Sir, you're sitting here and you expect me to believe that your assistant hired private investigators? Who paid the private investigators? Whose money was used for that? Get this, and this is good. Jay-Z's lawyer said he misspoke earlier when he said Rock Nation hired the investigators who spoke to Jane Doe at her home in Alabama. They said, Your Honor, it was somebody who worked for Mr. Carter. Somebody who was one of his assistants. I think one of his assistants decided to do this. Jay-Z, you really expect us to believe that your assistant hired private investigators to investigate for their boss in the SA case? And if your assistant knew who Jane Doe was, even down to where she lived, to hire private investigators to go and harass her in her doorstep, according to Jane Doe, then why were you still screaming that you didn't know who Jane Doe was and you had to publicly release her name? Again, I get why Jay-Z's doing all this, but the fact that Jay-Z is playing in our face and just telling things that don't even pass the sniff test, and everybody's just going to sit there and act like this ain't some weird mess. Everybody's gonna sit there and just act like Jay-Z wasn't crying about this is abomination. I need to publicly know who she is. Everybody's gonna sit there and not act like Jay-Z first said in Alabama, I don't know who those PIs are. I don't have anything to do with it. Then tell California, well, Rock Nation hired it, but I'm not Rock Nation. And we're like, you are the founder and owner, and you like, are you serious? And then to turn around and say what? To say what? Oh, well, guess what? It wasn't Rock Nation. I misspoke. How could you misspeak? No. It was actually his assistant. And we're going to just act like this isn't like looking really, really strange. I understand Jay-Z wants to win by any means. But when you got the truth on your side, do you have to resort to so many dirty tricks? Let's also not forget what was the dirtiest trick. The reason why Tony Busby and them withdrew the case with prejudice, which means they can never bring up Jane Doe's case again, is because Jane Doe said she got scared of the media coverage. She got scared at how hard Jay-Z and everybody was going and the way the public turned on her. She got scared and she was like, okay, fine. You know what? If I withdraw this, can we just like move on? And they agreed that if she withdrew the case, they would leave her alone. And they started to do this. The only thing is, Jane Doe's lawyers didn't get this in writing. They have it in email, but there was no signed contract. They did everything they were supposed to do on their behalf. And Jay-Z's team at the last minute said, no deal. Ha, 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 ha. So you're basically bragging that you won the Jane Doe case on a technicality that was done by trickery. And I understand you might be a Busby's fan. I understand you might be a Jay-Z fan, but can we talk about the way this actually just was trickery in what happened? Because if you hadn't offered them that, they wouldn't have withdrawn. Am I wrong? Again, so now we're back, and the same way we had to sit there and be like, okay, so you and Diddy weren't friends, you guys were associates, fine. Now it wasn't you, then it was Rock Nation, and now it's your assistant. Your assistant? Listen, the judge didn't buy it. The judge literally said, well, Jay-Z's fingerprints are all over it, whether he knew or not. You trying to tell me your assistant knew more than you did and was paying for stuff because what, you're such a great boss? Listen, anyway, the judge said that he's looking at his calendar. He's going to find a good day for Jay-Z and Busby's lawyers to come back to the courtroom and continue arguing. Again, listen, this isn't a ruling. The judge is just basically saying that the new evidence presented by Jay-Z's lawyers might lend credibility to the extortion claim against Tony Busby over the dismissed SA lawsuit. However, right, this tentative ruling is not a big win. It's not anything because they still need to argue it out. Again, you guys, what do y'all think of this? I understand why Jay-Z's doing this, but the fact that people are not acting like this is really, really weird. And I get it, the fact that you are literally using all, that's why I said you don't ever got to feel sorry for billionaires. You're using all your money, all your might, all your everything to go after this woman. Oh, one other thing that happened is they were arguing that they wanted to depose Jane Doe. On one hand, you're saying she's mentally fragile, but on the other hand, you want her in deposition to bully her. Guess what? The judge came to Jane Doe's defense and said, nah, there's no need for you to depose her. There is zero need for you to depose her. Can we move on? And they were fighting hard, but the judge at least protected Jane Doe. Anyway, you guys, that is an update what's happening. As soon as there's actually something real that happens or the court documents come out, I'll be sure to go live to talk about them. But let me know what you think in the comments. I mean, that's the way I'm feeling. What y'all think? Anyway, let me know. I'll talk to y'all later. Bye.